Hi, hello and welcome to another very short video. This one is me trying to work out what I'm going to do with the van electrics, and I thought I'd sort of talk a little bit about it because I don't know if you've done your van electrics, you've upgraded them, you've put Victron things in and lithium batteries and all that kind of stuff, but I have really struggled to find a good installer who will just give me a straight answer, a straight price, when they can do it, how they can do it, where they can fit the components, even though I've actually driven my van to two different installers in the Yorkshire region. Now then, at the minute in here, I've got these two AGM batteries that sit in there, and I've ordered two 230 amp hour lithium LiFePO 4 Drift Pro Gen 2 batteries from Fogstar that I've measured that cabinet inside, and I think I can fit two of those on their side in the space that I've got there. Might have to do a little bit of tweaking around, but I think they will fit in that space. So that'll give me two lithium batteries. Then in this cupboard here, which is full of all sorts of junk at the minute, but basically this cupboard should give me the ability to put a multi-plus 3000 in the back of this. I'd have to remove one of these shelves here, this one, and then it should fit in the back of there. So I have got the sort of space to put the stuff in, and I suppose I could wire it up myself. I would also need to have the DC to DC charger wired in. Currently everything that comes with the Adria Twin Max is under that driver's seat. So you've got an EBL from Lippert, booster, which is the DC to DC charger, and the MPPT controller. So one of the problems that I've got is actually how much solar can I actually fit on the roof of this van, because there's a skylight. If I just show you here, there's a huge skylight here which takes up a lot of space, and that side of it you can just see there's a TV aerial, and then behind that there's a little mushroom vent that comes out of the if I can just scan that up a little bit, little mushroom vent there in the washroom area that comes up on the top of the, and I'll show you a photograph of what I mean about the top of the van, and then behind that we've got this huge air conditioning unit that takes up a huge amount of the central part of the roof of the van, so that also takes up space. So getting more solar panels in here or on the roof of here is going to be difficult. Now what I've done temporarily is ordered an EcoFlow Delta Max 3 Ultra, I think it's called, which should be arriving in the next couple of days along with the Fogstar batteries, and I'm planning on sort of just tucking that for now in, if I can just get the camera up a little bit, in that space at the back there, which means that I can still sit in the passenger seat, which is mainly where I sit, working at this table here when I'm in the van. Gives me that room there still to get my legs beyond it, I think, and it does fit in that space quite well. So that'll give me a backup for, and if when I get the inverter properly installed, the Victron kit properly installed, if I make some changes to the settings on the existing Lippert stuff, that will give me some kind of charge on shore power or when I'm driving from the stuff there under the driver's seat, but it's only going to be minimal, sort of 18 to 25 amp charge that goes through. So it's probably a temporary thing, just so I can get the batteries installed in this cupboard down here, and then I'll be able to come back later in a separate job and either get somebody to do it, or if I end up having to do it myself, install the Multiplus 2, the DC to DC and the MPPT controller. But solar on the roof at the minute, I think I've just got one 100 watt panel that sits immediately behind this. If I can just open this little roof vent here and show you, there's a solar panel just there that sits just in front of the air conditioning unit, and I believe that is, if we can see, I don't think there's any sort of labelling on it that helps me to identify how many watts that panel is, but I believe it is just a 100 watt panel. So that doesn't give me a lot of solar, and I'd kind of been working with ChatGPT to work out how much solar will I need in order to charge those batteries in a reasonable length of time. And it turns out that the amount of solar that I need is much more than I can fit on the roof of this van. And probably for anybody else out there who knows about this stuff, probably already knew what I found out, which is, realistically, there isn't enough space on the roof of this van with the aircon unit, the skylight, various vents and stuff, to really put more than maybe just one more of those 100 watt panels, which will only give me 200 watts. And you guys out there probably know more about this than I do, and therefore 200 watts isn't going to give me a lot from a solar perspective. So in the temporary version, before I get the Victron stuff installed or I install it myself, I'm going to have 200 watts of solar from the roof in really perfect conditions, and we're in winter almost now, so that's not going to be for like 5 months. And then I've got the, I believe, 18 amps coming from the DC to DC charger, which again isn't, or it might be 25 amps, but it's not a lot coming from that. And it's not a lot either coming from, I think it's only 18 amps coming from the Lippert EBL shore power charger. So it's going to be a challenge all the way around for me to come up with a solution that gets me through temporarily. That's why I've got the Delta 3 Max Ultra unit as well as a side unit. That'll allow me to charge my laptop, it'll allow me to use some electrical components. I have a small air fryer. I mean, there is in here a microwave as well, which I do tend to use because I've got the microwave. I've got a very small 2-ring hob here, which is obviously at the minute kind of in need of a bit of a clean, because we're sort of in a sort of semi-winter situation, so I can use gas stuff on there. I have got the microwave, as I mentioned, and then I've got a fairly large air fryer in there, and then in the back here I also have like a bit of a separate air fryer in that cupboard there, sort of tucked in the back of there, which you can't really see because there's not a lot of light in there. Coffee machine and air fryer in there. So I've got a few components that I would run. Up there I've got the Wi-Fi unit, so that would be running all the time. Obviously lights, water pump, fridge in the van too would be running. That's a kind of medium-sized fridge, so presumably that takes a fair bit of kind of power, but not massively. There is a 12 volt TV that goes on that bracket there too, so that would also use a fair amount, well, maybe not that much, but it will use a reasonable amount of power. So I understand the two 230 amp hour batteries are going to be enough, or to some people's minds, some of the installers' minds, probably more than enough. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you know of any really good, reliable installers who won't make a big deal about it, will actually give me a price? One of these installers, interestingly, said to me, when I said about how many days will it take to install, and he was like, well, 2, maybe 3, and he gave me a quote which was about £4,500, and that quote installed the cost of the or included the cost of the MP2 Multiplus 2. It included, I think, 2 of the Fogstar batteries that are now bought separately, and the DC to DC and the MPPT and the installation. And he said to me, but he said, I don't do quotes, I only do estimates. And I said, oh, okay, well, can we do a quote? And he said, well, it might be 9 hours and it might be 30 hours. and I'll charge you what it takes me to do it. And I'm like, well, how do I know when I go into that deal what it's going to be? So yes, a bit disappointing really, that actually I thought some of these guys would be eager to get the work, eager to build, you know, a loyal customer base. No, certainly the three examples, one I called and they sounded completely disinterested. They were in the sort of west of the country, and the two I spoke to in Yorkshire were just completely disinterested. They just seemed to be like, well, we've got a lot of work on, and we might be able to squeeze you in sometime in March, and we can't really, you know, one of them, we can't give you a quote, we can only give you an estimate. So anyway, that is my exciting life of trying to get my camper van upgraded with the electrics, ready for either a few winter little trips about, or just really getting it ready for the camping season next year. So thank you very much for watching. Do take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon. Bye bye for now.